Okay, hi, I'm Mel Young. I'm down here in the hub, and I'm just going to show you a brief overview of what backwards design planning is. So the first thing that we would look at in backwards planning is going back to the curriculum map that you made as a program team. This would allow you to see exactly what program or vocational outcomes have been mapped to your course. From there, when you're thinking about what kind of outcomes you want for your course, you start to think about, what do I want the student to know by the end of my course? And that should align to the program or vocational outcomes that you already selected in the curriculum mapping process. So then I might select 4 overarching outcomes that relate back to those program outcomes for my course. So this would, let's say, CO. These are my course outcomes. The next thing in backwards planning that you want to look at is, now that I have all of these outcomes, what will the student be able to do by the end of the course? What will the student know by the end of the course? We need to think about, how are we going to assess those learning outcomes to ensure for us to know that the student has met those outcomes. So maybe I already know that I want to have the students have an exam at the end of the semester. So here I might say exam. Then I want to align that assessment back to the learning outcomes. So maybe for the exam, I will have exam questions that relate back to only these 3 outcomes. Then I would think about, how would I assess this final outcome for the course? So maybe for that, I'm going to have the students do a presentation. So then I could align that outcome to the presentation. If any of the other outcomes align to that, I could also link those together. So I would create assessments based on how they are measuring the student's ability to reach those outcomes. The last and final thing that you would do is you would start planning out your lessons. What learning activities, what content do the students need to know in order to perform on those assessments, in order for them to demonstrate that they know the outcomes that you've set. So this is where I would really start planning my week to week. So maybe in week 1, this is just an intro to my course. But then the next week, I'm going to have my first lesson that's talking about the learning outcome that's here that will feed into this assessment. Then I might have my next lesson, and this next lesson is going to have content that gives them content that they need to know for the exam, but it's also giving them content that they need to know in order to do their presentation. This is backwards planning. So you're taking something overarching and you're breaking it down into the final lessons.